Welcome, Jay. Good to have you again with us. Jay has been a very inspirational leader in WFM and is known as one of the influencers, top 10 influencers in the world, as per the research done by GWFM. Jay carries more than 2 decades of experience in WFM and service, customer service experience, supported clients in automotive, financial, healthcare, insurance, cable, consumer, wireless, energy, and ISP, verticals. And he's known for managing multiple teams, doing, AB customer service, soft sales, OB, cold calling using dialer, email chat, emergency queue, and back office. And also like managing multiple clients, multi-sites, multi-channels, and support functions covering full cycle support. Specialty subject is operations management, excellent way of solving the problems, analytics, workforce management, and people supply chain management, multi-sites and multi-clients management environment. Jay is going to take us through a strategy for building organizations future fit, technology integration, and adoption of automation. This is neat for the hour. Let's listen to Jay. Jay, are you going to present any presentation?
Yeah, I can share my screen, and I appreciate it. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to continue to learn and develop myself as well. So today I'll be, talking about the future fit workforce organization. Right. So over the last year and a half or so, everyone has gone through a lot of challenges. Not only within the organizations, within the family environments, but even in many cases personally, right? So there has been a lot of impact throughout the world. Obviously, that's been long lasting, and it's so that's been lasting, and it's still continuing, right? So it's going to continue for foreseeable future. So how do we look at things differently, right? I think that's the main question. Are there things that we need to do differently, right? So that's what I will hope to kind of focus on, and hopefully this session is fruitful for you guys, and we'll open it up for questions towards the end of it. So let me skip, right? So it's not a rocket science, right? So a lot of what we are going through, it's not, but it does require strategy. Every organization that I've been with and I've had an opportunity to be part of has always required strategy, right? And the strategy changes based on the environment you are in and experiences you are going through, right? In our current new norm is what we are calling it, right? That norm is going to change at some point and become another new norm, right? So how do we kind of future fit our organization, right? I think the best way to look at that, is how do we set up our mission and vision, right? That is super critical in every organizations that I've been part of, and every team that I've been part of. One of the first things that we have always done is come up with what is going to be our mission and what is going to be our vision, where we want to be, right? Some of the things never change. Some of the things change throughout the year, annually, semi-annually. As organizations adapt and change, you have to have a nimble enough organization that will change along with your overall organizational ecosystem. What is our change management model, right? I think that has become very, very prevalent and visible throughout the last year and a half, having gone through a global pandemic, right? Every organization had gone through some type of DRBC event, from a catastrophic events, from volcano eruptions to earthquakes to typhoons to tornadoes to hurricanes, right? Any number of those things at a regional level, at a geospecific level, flooding, all those things that they were very, very specifically coordinated or zoned in. This is our first experience as a global organization, as a global ecosystem, and taking a global impact. And that is very, very visible as to how our change management processes have been refined enough or not refined and needing to be modified and adopted. So another part is what drives the organization, right? I think especially in our different functions, WFM function, enabling functions, that is a critical questions we have to ask, right? Not all the organizations are set up equally or the same way. right? And each organization treats and deals with WFM as a different type of function, right? In a captive environment, it looked at it differently. In an outsourced environment, it's looked at differently. And where do you fit in your respective organization becomes a very, very critical point in order to develop your vision and mission. Kind of, overall, along with the mission and vision, you have to develop a value proposition. What is your value proposition? You as an individual, you as an organization, you as a functional lead, you have to have a type of a value proposition that you are able to showcase and share with your leaders, right? And it starts from developing an ecosystem that is internal, right? Internal within WFM in this case, and external to your stakeholders, right? Your stakeholders within the organization, throughout different functions, and as well as to the clients and customers. Training and development is something that, organizationally, especially in an outsourced environment, we don't normally spend a lot of time into, right? And it is critical to develop our team from ground up. Most of the time we see, or probably shouldn't say most, right? Many times we see people being pulled into the role. Their onboarding is with somebody that's either exiting or somebody is providing that, hey, this is how we do things, but not necessarily a proper onboarding that provides a thought process, methodology. Why do we do the governance process the way we do it, right? And walking somebody through it, because it takes some level of time and investment, and it's easier to go through that than just teaching somebody to do A, B, and C, right? That A, B, and C doesn't make a engaging team member. And that is very, very critical to kind of make sure you have a good training and development process, right? To encourage your employees. Culture is a huge thing, right? How, in the session right before this one, with all the women leaders, right? They all talked about you have to have a right culture that you are trying to build a synergies within your teams, within your ecosystem, right? Having that work-life balance, all of those things drives to what culture you have in your organization, and then ultimately within your function that you can control. Being agile and nimble by design, right? Not by having to react to an environment and react to situations, but by design that allows you to have a bench strength that you have developed over time. So if the organization grows, if organization shrinks, you have an idea of plan A, plan B, plan C of how you will do things and how you will adapt. There is a lot of talk about AI and ML and digital world engagement, right? So a lot of those things come at a cost, but if there is not a ROI, in some cases it may not make it much difference in your organization, right? So, and it becomes critical for you to understand that what is the right impact of the AI and ML, right? It's a nice word and all that's to have to put out in the environment in the PowerPoint presentations, but if you truly can't get a value add out of it, then it just becomes another thing that you have that you can put a nice screenshots into, but gets you very little ROI. Automations and integrations, I think that's has become or needs to become a norm, right? Everything from a data warehouse having in a captive environment or an outsourced environment, is it internal systems, having even the internal systems in many organizations are not talking to each other. There is a manual handoffs and all that stuff, right? I think as an organization, as we adapt to the new norm or making our organizations future fit, I think those things become critical, starting with end in mind, right? It's one of the 7 habits, right? It's very important to kind of keep that in mind as to how we drive that conversation within and throughout the organization. Sorry about that. How do we drive that conversation throughout the organization that will make a difference, right? It helps you with having an end in mind to kind of start and asking the right questions, all those things for integrations throughout the systems, throughout the data points. Ultimately, a lot of that big data talk that we do, if all the data you have, you don't know what to do with, it's just the data that you have in multiple places that you're collecting, and it's just a paperweight at that point. Planning, right? I think the planning function have become super valued, even more so than they were before. And there is a clear need for them, right? As to especially how do we change in our environment, in our current new norm? How do you adapt to those planning functions by, how your clients are going, what their clients are going through, how their customers are behaving, how is the pandemic impacting their business and their clientele? All of those things we have to account for in our planning cycle, so that way we can become more nimble by design, right? Again, going back to the point I made earlier, right? And that planning has to be followed through by even 10 times better execution. If you can't execute, planning is worthless. And planning is worthless, then the whole process you're going through to developing your organization is meaningless. So, all those things that I'm kind of calling out, use in buckets, use in pieces, or in totality. It will help develop a better organization. One last thing that is critical is the cost management, right? Short of somebody being in a captive environment and having a plethora of money and budget to spend on the WFM functions, there is a good likelihood that you are always on an annual basis running through a financial crunch, right? How do I do more with less? And even in a captive environment, you'll have that mindset, how do I do more with less, right? That more with less mentality has to be part of your plan as to how you develop your organization and how you develop your ecosystem. The next piece is what's in it for me, right? Everybody wants to know what's in it for me. If it's your stakeholders, if it's your clients, if it's your operations team, it's your finance team, if it's your technology team, right? Everybody wants to know what is it that you're going to do for me and how does this benefit me, right? Having that along with your value benefit mindset will help you go a long distance in your organization. Right? How do you engage with your customers? How often do you engage with your customers? How often you engage with your stakeholders? To what level? Right? As a WFM leaders, you should also want to inspect what you suspect. Right? I suspect that my team is doing a fantastic job, but it's my job to make sure that I inspect that periodically to make sure there are no gaps. Right? There are no learning opportunities that we are missing. So inspect what you suspect, and what's in it for me becomes a critical component. I'll end with a few quotes that I really like, and the image of that you guys see on doing epic things in life, right? I won't use the verbiage that's on the screen, but I really, really do believe in it. My goal is to do a lot of epic things for the organizations that we support, right? And I think all of you guys there on this conference are of the same mindset and wanting to do those kind of things, right? So I've left some quotes, and Dr. Kumar, I'm open for questions or any other comments that people have.
Sure, Jai. Thank you so much for a very quick and a very concise presentation, Jai. Let me see if there are any questions. Request all the audience to ask your questions. You can raise your hand there so that you can have a two-way conversation with Jai.
I think it's been a long day. I put people to sleep.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's one question. What are the best practices to have a fit organization, future fit organization? How do we measure?
Best practices, and I think we have a session tomorrow that a lot of the organizations are presenting on what their practices are. Right. I think that will help provide a point of engagement. I think from a KPI standpoint, right? If you are looking for what are the credentials for future fit organization, I would ask myself a few questions. I'd normally take a pause, right? I know we've got a session with Bina that's coming up. I've learned from her to kind of take a pause in my chaotic world to kind of say, hey, am I doing enough? Is what I'm doing meaningful? Right? I think so. You have some non-financial or non-numerical KPIs, and there are numerical KPIs that you can kind of validate that, hey, if my E2R is enough, right? Is my cost to the organization for my function is enough? Am I providing enough in a value benefit to the organization, right? All those things you can monetize and provide a point of validation. From a structure standpoint, right? I ask myself that am I training and developing the team enough, right? Not in fear of that, hey, if I train and invest so much time, they're going to up and leave. but more so that if I don't develop them enough, how are they going to impact my organization negatively, right? Just not because they want to negatively impact the organization, but just because as a WFM leader, I'm not doing enough to train and develop them to positively impact the organization. So hope that helps a little bit.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have any questions for Jay? Could raise your hand. Mohit has got one question. How do you drive suspect versus inspect at all the levels within the WFM organization?
Uh, Great question. And I think there are several different ways of doing it, right? So you can have employee scorecards, right, at all levels, right, from a real-time management to reporting to scheduling to planner to forecasters, right? All of them have a hard KPIs that you can kind of adhere to, right, from a practice management to a what is a process management, and you can make that a monthly practice at a frontline staff. When you get into a leadership roles, is a director engaging with somebody, right? That those become a little bit more of a conversations with your stakeholders, right? So periodically do conversations with your stakeholders. Say, hey, are you getting enough support from WFM function? Are we providing a value add to the organization, right? Are we providing a business intelligence to what you're looking for that you're able to use to make the clients grow or help the clients more help the clients grow or make the clients more sticky and develop with us, right? So some of those things that inspect what you suspect can be done several different ways. Just different depends on the position. Having a scorecards where possible and having engagement where it's scorecards are not possible.
Thanks, Jay. I think that's very concise answer. Right. I don't see any questions now. Thanks so much, Jay, for your very brief presentation and very effective and great learning for me and also like everyone for there. And the next session, Jay, if you like to be there as a panelist, if you have time, you could have you because we missed
Yeah,
you in the session. If you like to be there, where Satya is going to moderate. If you like to be there, good to have you.
yeah, yeah. I'll stay back.
Okay, great. Thanks. So with this, we conclude Jay's session. Thank you so much, Jay, for putting things for the future fit organization, which is need for the hour and very essential for WFM leaders and professionals to adopt, and especially for the organizations. And we live in future. Future starts from today, right? So now is our future. Absolutely. All right. With this, thank you so much, Jay.